they say 9 out of 10 startups fail, or that the odds of winning is 10%. So for those of you who are not entrepreneurs, you may wonder, why would somebody take this improbable path? For those of you who are entrepreneurs, you may have a variety of reasons. Perhaps the desire to be your own boss, the desire to have highs and lows, or perhaps the curiosity of the unknown. For me, it's always been in my DNA to want to win. I have an almost unhealthy condition where I see almost everything like a game waiting to be played. So my name is Jaclyn, and today I wanted to talk to you about my startup journey of how I sold my first tech startup when I was 24, and how it had an uncanny resemblance to that of a game of Texas Hold'em. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the game, I'll give you a quick and brief overview of the game. So the table starts with players up to 10. They get a hand of 2, and throughout the game, throughout the middle, the dealer will hand out 5 cards in the middle that players can use to create a poker hand. Each round, there are 3 rounds that new cards get revealed: the flop, the turn, and the river. Each round, players can bid, fold, or bet. The goal of the game is to get the highest 5-card poker hand at the table. The catch is that the 5-card poker hand that is the highest at the end of the table is not necessarily the one that wins the chips in the middle. It's the player that plays as if he or she has the highest hand at the end of the game that wins. So as you can tell, there are some statistical as well as mental skills involved, but also a great deal of luck. Luck sometimes plays a large role for a startup founder on whether or not you're successful or not, or even whether or not you decide to play or not. So for me, when I reflect back on my journey, I felt that luck was on my side when I was dealt my hand, similar to that of a 7-8 suited hand. Here we have the optionality of a straight, a flush, or a straight flush. So for me, my startup journey started by getting accepted into an accelerator program called the Next 36. This is where I met my would-be co-founder, Shums, who, when I first met him, he's your typical 4.0 GPA engineer, one of the smartest people I had ever met, but one person who had the worst fashion sense I'd ever seen. So I took him shopping one day, and within a week, he was able to pair polka dot bow ties and paisley pocket squares together. So that's when I realized he was also one of the fastest learners I had ever met. So for us, with this new co-founder that I had met, as well as the seed funding from the Next 36, I had known that this was a hand that I was willing to play in. We had also known that perhaps our odds were better than average. So the dealer reveals the flop. Cards that are not 100% in our favor, but some cards that we like. We still have the optionality for a straight, as well as a flush and a straight flush. So for Shums and I, through the Next 36, we were able to create a company called Blink. It was a fashion app that was like a Tinder-like experience where users could swipe left and right on, and we would use learning algorithms to send you outfit recommendations that you could buy. So this idea resonated really well with early adopters. We had hundreds of swipes per session from users, we had early praise from the press, and we even won $100,000 in Startup Festival in Montreal. So it was time to get a little bit more serious and put some chips in the game. So Shums dropped out of school, and I moved on to my brother's couch. We both made a ton of sacrifices. Shums sacrificed his degree, and I sacrificed closet space. So we were on that sort of founder high where we thought, this is really great initial success. We probably overestimated our likelihood of success. So when the dealer reveals the turn, we get a card that is highly in our favor. This takes out the opportunity for us to get a flush and opens up the door for competitors to have any one of the hands that could beat a pair of 7s. So for Blink, we kind of had a rough patch where we realized that affiliate linking was not the ideal business model for our company. And we saw that our app iterations did not have skyrocket growth like we had hoped. So it was time for a pivot. What we ended up doing was we used the consumer data we had from our consumer app, and we decided to make white label algorithms for retailers that they could use on their websites. So we were able to get in the doors of some of the major retailers like Michael Kors and TJ Maxx. However, the sales cycles were anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. But what we were able to do was close a partnership deal with one of the major messenger apps, Kik. So that allowed us to sustain our expenses for a few months at least. So it wasn't smooth sailing, but we had skin in the game, and we decided we didn't want to lose hope. So the river card, the last card. It's a 10 of spades. So it's not a straight, and we're left with a mere pair of sevens. This is one of those moments. One of those moments where some founders see a win or a lose, but a highly competitive founder sees multiple options here. So what we had decided after several months, Shums and I, was that the opportunity to turn a partnership into more of a marriage with Kik was the most optimal and exciting opportunity that we should aim for. Not only were they one of Canadians' unicorns, they also had a very clear and opportunistic vision and a massive user base that we were excited about. But we were running out of money, and we didn't want to waste our time. We knew that if we spent too much time on this acquisition, we would lose focus on the product as well as other opportunities that we had on the table. We also knew, like any other acquirer, that if we didn't put pressure on them, it would be a very slow and grueling process. But when we evaluated all of our options, we still knew that this was what would probably give us the greatest odds of success. So for the next 3 months, I decided I would solely focus on generating as much pressure as I could. So I moved to San Francisco, I got into one of the largest accelerator programs, I got the best pitch at Demo Day, and I had 2 investment opportunities waiting for me in the end. This is what I call having a pair, but playing like you have a full house. So as I said in the beginning, the winner in the end not necessarily is the one who has the highest hand in the end. And in fact, in this case, neither of the players had to reveal our hand, so it's not clear who had the greatest value. But what we did do was that each player saw what was on the table and evaluated what they were or were not willing to take as a risk. So what you'll learn in a startup is that you never know and you can't predict your fate. What you can do is evaluate your odds and make decisions that will only increase those odds. Sometimes you fold, sometimes you call, and sometimes you bluff. The difference between winning a game of poker and succeeding in your own startup is that 100% of the time when you start a company, you have to go all in. Thank you.
Questions?
How has the acquisition been for you guys in merging with Kik?
So there were a number of reasons why we decided that Kik was a really great acquisition partner and why we decided that an acquisition was the best route. One of the biggest reasons was because we did really believe in the vision and the roadmap that Kik was going through, which was betting on a chat platform and betting on chatbots. And as you can see from 2016, it was the year of the bots. So I feel like that was a great bet. The second thing was that we were super young and we had minimal experience, and I felt that having an acquisition under our belt opens the opportunity for us in the future to start another company and go bigger or get the resources that we need for our next opportunity. So for me, I feel all in all, it was an amazing experience and the best decision we could have made.
Over there.
What are you looking to win at next?
Making sure that every engineer dresses well. There's a number of opportunities I'm excited about. I do believe in the messenger space and chatbots. I'm excited about AI and the role it plays in chatbots. But I also always have a soft spot for fashion and retail.
Any questions in the back?
How's it been being a woman involved in this entrepreneurship game?
The question was, how does it feel like being a woman in the entrepreneurship game? So I always get a question about women and female and entrepreneurs, and my answer is always when that's a question, I think that's a problem, because that means we're not at a point. And I mean, for me, I always think that if you're a woman and you're striving to be equal with men, then you're not ambitious enough.
Here, here. Last question. Okay.
Yeah, what were the main lessons learned?
You have to go all in. That's my number one. Team and your co-founder is like the most important. And always reevaluate what you're learning throughout the process so that not only in this startup or your next startup, you can apply it.
Thank you so much. Can we get a round of applause?